You know that thing you've been trying to change about yourself for the last few years? The extra 15 pounds, the choosing the wrong person to date, the procrastination, the staying in your comfort zone and not leaving that job, or even your addictions. Whatever it is, I want you to stop, take pause, and consider this. What has been worse? The thing that you want to change, or your torment and self-attack about it? Interesting, right? Now, what if I told you that freedom from that pain and the ability to actually change that thing all lies on the other side of a perspective shift? The simple yet formidable pivot is to go from, I hate this thing about me and I need to change it, to, this is a part of who I am and it serves a purpose. I know that might sound counterintuitive. How could embracing the thing that you want to change actually lead to leaving it behind or transforming a habit? Well, get curious, stay open, and listen to the end for the steps on how to change your perspective and shift the way that you think, feel, and experience your life. It's going to be a game changer. Before we dive in, please hit the like button and subscribe. Underpinning this pivot from self-attack, self-criticism, to self-acceptance are fundamental truths, universal laws that you are already aware of. Today, we'll apply these brilliant concepts to the long-held and deeply ingrained ways that you've been unconsciously undermining yourself. The indisputable influence and consequence of self-love, self-compassion, and the law of like attracts like. All of that dictates that self-attack, self-criticism can never, ever lead you to peace, progress, or empowerment. What's more, shame, which goes hand in hand with self-judgment, will keep you stuck. It will keep you self-pathologizing, thinking there's something wrong with you, and self-hating. If self-attack is the spinning of the wheels that keeps you locked in place like a truck stuck in mud, then loving on the part of you that does that thing, that does that habit, is the leverage that's going to finally free you. Now, don't jump the gun and take this to mean that some random affirmation or disingenuous statement of self-acceptance will magically transform your life. That's not what I'm talking about here. What I am saying is a pattern interruption, doing something new, and then a slow turning of the ship will lead you to a new destination. Where this pivot in perspective, and more importantly practice, does lead is to the promised land of owning all of who you are, the prized bits and the bits that you previously used to judge harshly. The embracing of your whole human, inclusive, messy self leads to unlocking authenticity as power. The revolutionary act of accepting yourself as you are will become your energetic signature of trustworthiness, of leadership, and it will make you magnetic. Also, this approach means you get to live your life going with the current, with the flow of who you are, instead of exhausting yourself trying to fight and change what is. Okay, so from theoretical to real world application, how can this actually impact your life? To begin, let's clear up why you haven't yet been able to change that thing about yourself or your life circumstance, despite all of your best efforts and that strong desire. And I know y'all have been trying. We're always growing, adapting, desiring, learning, and so it stands that we naturally want to evolve ourselves and evolve our lives. The trouble arises, however, when instead of remaining compassionately curious about why do I do that thing or why does this keep happening, instead we lose ourselves in self-blame and judging ourselves as wrong or bad. Here's an example. Let's say that at some point you started viewing yourself and thinking of yourself as fat. Fat with an aftertaste of disgust. Perhaps someone in your family or someone at school made a mean-spirited comment and it landed in you, in your psyche, like a seed in fertile soil. From that moment on, you became hyper-conscious of your weight, and you now self-identify as someone who should lose weight in order to be attractive, lovable, worthy, even good. Fast forward a few decades, and somehow, despite all of your best efforts, you're still fighting this internal and external battle. You're still judging yourself and feeling bad about yourself for the way that you look, for not working hard enough to resemble a fitness model. You'd think all those years trying to lose weight would have paid off by now. All of that time and energy focused on changing, being someone different, being someone better. It should have moved the needle, right? But it didn't. Weird. Maybe your problem isn't weight. Maybe it's money. When you were young, you realized very early on that your family was not rich. Your family was not even middle class. And unfortunately, being poor comes with the subtle yet insidious conditioning that you're less than those with money. Nonetheless, you tried your damnedest to work your way towards financial security. You were told, work hard and anything can be yours. So you did. But try as you might, for years and years and years, you're still struggling financially. Based on everything that you've been told, everything that you know, you conclude, logically, the problem must be you. You're not doing it right. You're not hustling hard enough, you're not smart enough, or maybe it's just not meant to be for someone like you. By now you're feeling jaded, hopeless, resentful, and really bad about yourself. In both of these examples, there's no shortage of desire to change. There's no lack of awareness or attention to the issue, and there's certainly effort. So why isn't that enough? Why does change and progress evade us when we actually set out after it? I'll tell you why. It's because the way we fixate and shame and blame ourselves is a crippling trap. It's a ball and chain that ensures that you'll never make any progress. It's also reflective of the society that we live in which we're told you're the cause of everything that happens in your life, and it's on you to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. That programming, that message has us self-blaming and self-hating for things that are often legitimately caused by societal, cultural, and systemic issues. Are you starting to see how when you don't examine your self-judgments, the default setting is to belittle and berate yourself? So, how do you liberate yourself from that mind trap and actually start to make progress? Well, it's imperative that you keep reminding yourself that judging and shaming will always lead you in the opposite direction of where you want to go. It's never going to fuel your desired change. It's never going to nurture a pivot or a shift. In fact, the only thing it's going to do is fortify resistance. When you say, I'm an undisciplined, disgusting person because I eat too much, a beautiful and brilliant, genius part of you will resist and revolt that kind of abusive thinking. The part of you that chooses to self-soothe, self-regulate, facilitate joy or relief with food, it will go to great lengths to take care of you, the only way that it knows how. And it will sabotage your plan to eliminate the snacktivity that brings you comfort. This rebellious sabotage is also a firm fuck you, no thank you, and I don't believe you to the rude inner critic that is calling yourself fat and disgusting. Kinda genius, right? Despite the loving brilliance of your subconscious, determined to defend your wisdom and your dignity, that resistance will not bring you change. And sometimes change is what you need. It's okay to want to lose weight, be more productive, stop your addiction, or whatever your desire is. But know that if your only tool is a hammer, every problem is going to look like a nail, and you'll end up beaten down, black and blue, from the vicious and ineffective self-judgment. The solution. Part 1. I came to know and integrate this game-changing pivot of perspective after learning about human design and separately the work of unshaming. These two tools changed my trajectory and freed me up for real growth. I'm going to provide my abridged overview, but I encourage you to follow the threads, look into this further for your own wonderful unraveling. From the system of human design, I was introduced to individual mechanics. This is the concept that our cosmic fingerprint, the way we process and move through the world, who we are encoded to be, gets inscribed during the window of our appearance Earth side, reflecting the celestial arrangement at that time. The mechanics of how you think, feel, and function are individual to just you. And upon learning about your specific design, it liberates you from thinking that you should be like this one standardized human that the world keeps harping on about. I'll give you a quick example. According to human design, there are 5 energy types, of which generators are the most prevalent on Earth, coming in at about 70% of the population. Generators have access to a consistent supply of energy, sacral energy, giving them what it takes to keep going, day in and day out. They are the life force and the builders of this world. If they're aligned with something that they genuinely love, then they have an almost endless supply of energy for it. Now, imagine you're one of the other types, the remaining 30%, living in this world dominated by generators. When you inevitably run out of energy because you don't have this consistent supply, you might think something is wrong with you. Why can't you keep going? Why can't you keep up? Why do you need so much rest, alone time, time away? Again, do you see how when we don't embrace our differences, the default is self-attack, not compassionate curiosity, not why am I like this, but rather what's wrong with me? This was actually my story. I thought I was lazy and undisciplined. I shamed myself and let other people shame me for my inability to push through, full steam ahead, no days off, go hard. I bought into that story, that something was wrong with me and I needed to change. As you can imagine, what happened next is I felt 100 times worse and became even more ineffective. Why? Because I was shitting on myself and co-signing on judgments from people around me and the conditioned world. Once I learned that my energy type was one that required long periods of rest and time alone to recharge, not only did it all make sense, but I became much more effective as a result of honoring my own unique mechanics. This perspective pivot brought so much relief. I could stop trying to be something that I just couldn't. And in the space that opened up from all of that grace, I was able to draw from the depths of my own insight and creativity. We're not meant to be one homogeneous expression of human. If you want to learn about your own unique design, go to a site like www.human.design, enter your birth information, and begin a deep dive into your own mechanics. The second part of the solution. The second component here was a healing that turned into leverage to getting unstuck and advancing in life. This piece is called unshaming, and I learned it from brilliant coach Simone Soul and her teacher, David Bredrick. Here's how it applies to finally making change. When hurtful or traumatic things happen in life, and we do not have a loving witness in either someone else or even in ourselves, then we internalize whatever we're told or programmed to believe about that experience. For instance, if you were abused as a child and no one came to your aid, or you told an adult and they blamed you or denied it happened, then without having that loving witness to acknowledge your pain or stand up for you, you then adopt the subconscious belief that you deserved it, that it wasn't that bad, or that it didn't really happen, or that you should kind of keep these things to yourself. This belief then goes on to live in the mind and in the body for the rest of your life as shame, because of how you internalized it. The shame then influences the development of certain behaviors and attitudes and ideas. It could be over drinking, eating, shopping, lying, sex, a fierce sense of independence, distrust, meanness, people-pleasing, etc., etc. Whatever it is, it originally spawned from a place of self-protection, an attempt to help you feel better, have some semblance of control and significance. Later on in life, you might find yourself in a position where you no longer want that compulsive behavior or attitude as a way to self-soothe. Why changing this habit then becomes so challenging for us is because at this point, we've adopted the belief that we're bad, fucked up, immoral for being this way. The original pain is now buried beneath layers of shame about the subsequent coping mechanism. By now, you can't see the genius and compassion in your original choice because you're consumed with self-judgment. Unshaming taught me to get curious about why we do the things that we do, to approach a desire for change from a place of empathy and respect for my intelligence and my humanity. What is it about this habit that I actually love? What purpose does it serve? What about it gives me so much satisfaction and relief? I learned to follow the flashes of wisdom in my choices, like threads that lead to a deeper truth. In doing so, I step further away from that consuming fire of self-hatred and more into this open expanse of neutrality, into that field that Rumi spoke of, beyond right and wrong. The best part about this unshaming work is that it will lead you to uncover profound and beautiful truths about yourself. Okay, here's the practice, the actual steps to pivot your perspective and disarm resistance to change. Do this exercise. Think of something that you currently do that you'd like to change. It can be a habit like I eat too late at night or I procrastinate too much. It can be an unconscious quality like I'm messy or I avoid conflict. It can even be a recurring thought like I tell myself no one wants to hear what I have to say. Whatever comes up first, roll with that one. Write it down, and then beneath that, write down what comes to mind when you think about when you first started doing that thing or being that way or having that thought. Maybe it was when you were 7 or 8. Maybe it's when you went away to college. Maybe it started after you got divorced. Take note of when you noticed this and what were the circumstances at that time. Now, write down the first thing that comes to mind when you recall someone else being critical of this behavior or quality. Maybe someone told you that you were wrong or bad for doing it. Maybe you heard it on TV or from a teacher or read it in a book. Maybe it's a cultural expectation. Write down your first memory of external disapproval or judgment around this thing. Notice if the outside criticism preceded you feeling really bad about yourself. Now, pause and take a deep breath. Allow yourself to connect with the part of you that does this thing, or perpetuates this quality, or thinks that thought. Don't rush, don't judge, and leave space to hear from this one, to feel what they feel. Now, begin to witness this part of you as an advocate and as an ally. Lean into defending and supporting this part of you. Get curious about what good comes from you being this way. Get curious about why you chose to do this. What are the sensations, the payouts, the reliefs, or the rewards that come from this behavior? Write down what comes up. Look at the undesired behavior or quality or thought again, this time through the eyes of the divine, as they would look down upon a child. What would unconditional love and compassion make of this choice or quality? Breathe and feel into the resourcefulness of this choice. See if you can locate the genius acting on your behalf. Was this born from self-soothing? Was this a means to keep you safe from harm? Did this come to be as a reclamation of your power, a stand for defending and honoring your soul? List the good reasons. Okay, look at the quality or behavior again, and this time try on claiming it as true, owning it without judgment. What if a part of you was lazy or conflict avoidant or a people pleaser? What if your true nature was big and meant to take up space, so your body found a way to express that in physical size? What if you are selfish? Write down what brilliance or benefit can come from this. How is this quality or behavior a gift that can actually serve you? Where can you own this in your life? Write down what comes to mind and notice if this aspect of yourself shows up in the body in the form of a particular sensation or if it resides somewhere specific. With your attention on this specific part of you, send it love. Let it know that you see it and that you're sorry for shaming and blaming it. Let it know that you're curious to why it wants your attention and that you're listening. What is the message that comes forth? What does your inner child, your subconscious, or your higher self want you to know or do? Write it down. Great job. Now, look at your list again. Do you feel the difference in your body between self-hate and self-acceptance? That alone is worth it. That is a step in the right direction. Beating yourself up keeps you in that old loop. Treating yourself with loving kindness, with compassionate curiosity, is the breakout and the boon that you've been waiting for. Conscious self-acceptance is the vanquisher of unconscious resistance. And when that resistance softens or fades away, you'll change and flow and move and grow. Do you see how this is a powerful pattern interruption? For me, this journey of learning to get compassionately curious and embrace my full self lifted the weight of trying to be like someone else, someone perfect. It lifted depression and shame. It lifted expectations of doing things any other way than in authentic alignment with myself. From this new place, lasting change happened. Up-leveling, upliftment, forward progress, creation, ease, success, satisfaction, and peace. It all came. Miraculously, none of that came at the expense of disrespecting myself or working harder. Does that sound like something you're up for? This work of unshaming and accepting, uncovering who you really are, your unique mechanics, is much easier done and facilitated with a loving witness. If you've never worked with a coach before, this is part of the experience. To be powerfully affirmed as you are, to be reminded of your inherent goodness, value, worth, resilience, power, and your unique genius. If you've gone this far with your default story being something is wrong with me and I need to change, then having that replaced with explicit reflection of your genius, courage, and beauty is going to be a life-changing, mind rewiring, question everything kind of a breakthrough. If you appreciate this video, if you learned something from it, if it inspired a new thought, absolutely like the video and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Now, I want to remind you that the most successful people get as far ahead as they do because they have support, coaches, teachers, allies, experts, guides. And I want you to consider this your sign to go ahead and bolster your journey with loving expertise. Here's how I can support you. One of my superpowers is being able to see you through the lens of the divine, being able to see what's possible and what the multiple pathways are for you to achieve your dreams. Whether that's for your personal brand, your own life journey, or if you're interested in group coaching. If you want to talk about working together, schedule time with me on my website. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.